Black Friday is upon us and the pressure to buy random crap that you don't need is building, unless it's a one wheel that you probably should buy. So today I'm gonna go through things, tools, cameras, stuff that I use every single day, and if it's on sale, it's definitely worth looking at. I don't know if any of this is on sale, but if it is, check it out. I have like a decent amount of gear and I've tried a lot, but these are the things that have actually stuck with us, things that I actually need. The one wheel is probably not really a need, but in terms of electric devices, it is by far the best, and I could not recommend getting a one wheel more. This new Pint X is really great, longer battery, longer range, a little bit faster. It's really great. That's probably the one that you should aim for right now. Although maybe you should wait a little bit because the GT is coming out and that thing looks like an absolute beast. You guys like those ninja moves? Also, I'm hiring right now. If you didn't see, if you're an editor, filmmaker, producer, graphic designer, motion graphic artist, any of those things that you think might help me with YouTube, please go watch the video first of all, and then check out the link down below and apply. I would love for you to apply. Oh, and make sure you're like an actual professional in one of these areas. This is not an internship position or anything like that. I need professionals to help me with YouTube and the businesses that we are building. I feel like we should have this on sale already, but we have some stuff to do still, so a little bit later. Oh, and last thing before we get to the gear, we have put everything on the store, 33% off for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all of that stuff. So if you've been eyeing the presets, the LUTs, any of that stuff on my store, now is probably a great chance to buy some. I rarely do sales, so hope you guys like it. So remember, these are the pieces of gear that we actually use all of the time, and I could not do my job without. There's a lot of things that are nice to haves, but unfortunately those things usually end up being things that you don't use very often. First up, cameras. We've been selling a ton of our cameras, but the cameras that have stuck with us are the Sony FX3 and the a7S III, which is what I'm using right now. I would say that I don't have one anymore, but that the Sony a7 IV is also a really great camera if you need a camera that's a little bit more photo heavy. But I think pretty much for any sort of lower to mid-level filmmaking, these Sony cameras are the best. I could see if you're super photography heavy, Canons are still really great, but in terms of video, I just prefer Sony. If there's a sale on these, it is 100% worth looking at. I'd say if you're like a freelance filmmaker, travel, wedding films, trying to do epic cinematic stuff, I'd probably go with the FX3. And if you're more of a YouTuber, then I'd probably go with the Sony a7S III. Mostly because the flip LCD screen doesn't catch on the mic cable on the a7S III. That's my biggest reason. I mean, you could just pull off the little port door thing, but I haven't on the FX3. Oh, but if you do need a cinema camera, I would highly recommend looking at the Ronin 40. DJI just totally changed the game with cinema cameras. So if you are in the market for a cinema camera, I would try that first and then make your decision. It's not the camera for everybody, but it is a very interesting camera. When it comes to lenses, we basically film 99% of the time on this 16-35. If you're a Canon shooter, 16-35, I would go for the f2.8 because I use it so much. It's worth it in the end. And then the other one would be a Sony 24mm f1.4. This is for when we want the really nice bokeh, that nice smooth background. That's when we bust this out. But I would say most of the time we're just on the 16-35. And then, whoa, almost dropped it. Every once in a while we use the 24mm. Those are my go-to lenses. I literally almost never use any of those other lenses. That's just me. What are you slackers doing?
We're having Last Suppers.
This isn't the Last Supper yet.
We're gonna have them every day though. Tempo paid for me.
Oh, yeah. Generous.
You know, yeah. I gotta pay next time though. This video is going on a pause as we have a lunch break. Enjoy.
Good lunch. In terms of editing programs, right now we are still on Final Cut Pro 10 and it's been working really well for us. It's super fast. We haven't run into any issues with it, so we've stuck with it. We haven't touched Premiere for the longest time. It's also a lot cheaper. Now you could go DaVinci and that's even cheaper, but for us, Final Cut works really well. We also use my LUTs to color grade the films. They're on sale right now. If you want to check those out, every single video is color graded using my LUTs. We use our audio presets, which makes the audio processing super fast, super easy. And then we've been using motion VFX plugins, mostly for like the graphics and stuff like that. I have graphics made for Premiere, but I don't have graphics made for Final Cut. So we've been using motion VFX plugins, and I would assume that they're gonna have some big Black Friday sales. So if you've been looking or needing some plugins, motion graphics, stuff like that for Final Cut, definitely check out Motion VFX. In terms of tripods, I'm still using the GorillaPod. Sometimes I'll use a tripod. We have this Manfrotto, I've had this forever. That's for the big cinema cameras. We also have this one that Manfrotto sent recently, but honestly, I don't use tripods that much. I kind of just, this Peak Design one is also really great. Don't use it that often. Here's my tripod. There's a chair, GorillaPod camera. In terms of drones, we have been very much enjoying the DJI Air 2S. It seems like it's the happy medium of really nice quality, but small size and just really easy to use. But this guy is a beast. It's such high quality and a fairly small drone size still, but for the everyday droning, we just go with the Air 2S. Almost forgot. FPV. DJI's FPV, it's definitely my go-to. It's the easiest to use, the battery life, the return to home, all of that stuff. The only downside is that it really sucks to crash these things. But if you're doing FPV, I think this is the way to go. Just be careful with it. Don't risk the biscuit too often, because you will crash it and it will break for sure. But I think this is the way to go. Still one of my most favorite filmmaking hobbies. Oh, and then you just stick a GoPro on there for better video quality. That's what we do. What's your go-to camera bag?
I don't even know. I'm using a douchebag camera bag right now.
They're actually really great, right?
They look great.
I still think these are great camera bags. They look good and they're great, but we have been sticking with this new Peter McKinnon. It's like the right size for us. It fits all the stuff that we need. It has been our everyday camera bag.
I tried to use the Manfrotto like roller bag for the airport, but I realized quickly that you need free hands.
Yeah.
So it backfired quickly on me.
When you're doing this kind of vlogging and filming, if you have to be using your hand, especially if you have a carry-on, then both hands are taken, and so yeah, you need a backpack. That's the one that we've kind of gone with for now. In terms of computers, we have been exclusively using the new 16-inch MacBook Pro M1 Max. We have one maxed out one. This one is almost maxed out, and there is no questions here. If you need a new laptop, get an M1 laptop. They are so powerful, so fast. Like you don't even need a desktop anymore. You don't really need an iMac or any other desktop. This thing can do it all. Now it is a little beefy. It's definitely bigger than I'm used to. It feels more like the old 17-inch MacBooks. So I did order a 14-inch, and I feel like that's the way to go in this silver color. The silver just looks so good with this black background of the keyboard. Yeah, I think silver 14-inch might be the way to go. I doubt those are gonna be on sale because they're brand new, but worth looking into. Headphones wise, I mostly use AirPods. If I'm doing any sort of like, calls or watching some sort of YouTube videos or listening to a podcast or an audiobook, I'm using AirPods. And recently I've been using these new AirPods. What are these? Just like the second gen AirPods? AirPods 3. AirPods. Third generation AirPods 3. These are really great. I honestly, I feel like these feel really good in the ear. The only problem is, well, you don't have noise canceling, and well, they seem to be sticking pretty good, but I feel like these end up falling out of my ears fairly often, whereas the pros have noise canceling, and they just do not, they never really fall out of my ears. But I don't like that they go in your ear. It kind of irritates my ears, so AirPods are great. I like them both. Worth getting if there's any sort of sales. In terms of editing, we usually use the Sony over-the-ears MX4. Is that what they're... Something like that. Action cameras, still by far my favorite action camera to use. The Insta360 One X2, just so fun to use for action stuff. You're never gonna miss anything because you have unlimited angles, and that disappearing stick is just, I don't know, it's hard to beat that. If you're using a GoPro or the DJI, what's the new one called? I already forget, the Action or whatever. Yeah, you just get the stick and it's just not as fun to use. You kind of have to be really cognitive of what you're filming, whereas with the 360 cameras, you don't have to be worrying about that. You can just worry about whatever activity, craziness you're doing, and then frame it up in post. Yeah, post workflow is a little bit more annoying, but still worth it. What is this? Pro tip is to export in ProRes. Quality is real nice. Apparently these are wrist rests. Am I supposed to like be on the computer and my... Unfortunately, this is one of those things where I feel like you might get conned into buying something like this and then you never end up using it. I mean, maybe if we got crazy carpal tunnel or something, this could be good, but there's a lot of products that I see where I'm just not as enthusiastic about. But thanks for sending it, appreciate it. We gotta do a meetup and give away some of the stuff that I don't use at the office. It's gotta go to better use, better hands. Ooh, Tamron 17 to 28 mil. That is an interesting lens. Is this full frame? Well, this seems like a very nice lens. Let's check, what's the price of this? Tamron 17 to 28. $800. That is quite affordable. Let's check it out right now. We'll just do a little. Okay, this is the Tamron 17 to 28. So not quite as wide and not quite as zoomed in as the 16 to 35, but way smaller and about a third of the price. And how's the autofocus? Pretty good, pretty impressive. So if you're looking for a more budget-friendly vlogging lens, this might be our guy. What do you think?
Did you say budget friendly?
Mr. Budget Friendly over.
This might be a good option compared to the G Master.
I'm always sketched out by like these kinds of lenses that aren't, you know, a Sony lens on a Sony, how the autofocus is, but this is doing a great job, and maybe we're just past that whole phase of bad autofocus on these lenses. Okay, I'll film the rest of this video on the Tamron 1728. Thank you for sending this over. Is it a 2.8? It is an f2.8. Very impressive for $800. Well done, Tamron, well done. Microphones, we're still using, let's see if I can get this off the camera. We're still using the Rode Video Mic Pro Plus. This is a terrible idea. Let me just put it back on. It sounds really great. It's fairly small. I wish there was a better option. I feel like we should have better options for microphones that work for this sort of YouTube vlogging. It's literally bigger than my camera right now, or this lens. Like, how is that? I feel like we should have some better options. I do like this little Sony microphone, but it doesn't sound as good, and it's really expensive. So I feel like this is great. No cords, no cables, just plug it straight in, but the audio isn't quite as good, and it's kind of weird for picking up when you're behind the camera. You can switch the different modes, but then kind of just picks up everything. And so we just we've stuck with the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus. That's what we go with. Lights. If you're looking for lights, there's really only one company to go for, in my opinion, and that is Aperture. I'm not being paid to say that. I don't think I've ever gotten paid by Aperture, but they have sent me some lights. They have all the different lights that you could ever want. Now, I will say that these Aperture light domes are pretty great, and I think they might have made a little bit bigger one, but that's not enough for me. Depo, hit this light. I literally just looked on Amazon for the biggest softbox I could find. That's the biggest one I could find on Amazon, and it costs like $100 and something bucks. It wasn't that crazy, but this light is like so good. You just move it around and it's like you have this nice big window light, except you can control it, you can put it anywhere. So Aperture lights for the remotes, being able to control them on the app, and then big softbox. That's what I would do.
Can I turn it off? It's kind of hard to edit photos with this bright light. The exposure might be totally off now.
You need your beauty light. That was editing. Ooh, look at this little sneak peek. Look at that. Woo! We just took a trip to Alberta. Vlogs are coming. A lot of good stuff. Look at that. Pumped to launch the clothing brand real soon. In terms of phones, I've tried all of the iPhones, and my favorite is still the iPhone mini. You really don't need all those extra fancy bells and whistles. Even as a filmmaker, photographer, it's nice to have, but you don't need them. The mini is great, so I just saved my money. I like the size. That's what I recommend right now. Gimbals. Love-hate relationship. We literally use gimbals almost never. We actually just did use this one on our trip to Alberta. Was that the only time we've used it this year?
One time. That's it.
One time. And now, like, it totally depends on what kind of filmmaker you are. You might have way more use for a gimbal if you're trying to do some really nice shots. Gimbals are great, and I would recommend the DJI Ronin S2. I've tried, again, a lot of different gimbals. This one is my favorite. It just works. That could change, but right now this is my favorite. It does look cool on the wall though. And lastly, one wheels are something that we use all of the time for fun, for filmmaking, for YouTube. They're just a great storytelling tool to get around, add some excitement to your videos, and they're just really fun. If you're just looking for some extra fun in life, a one wheel is a great purchase in my opinion. Do you need it? No. Is it nice to have? Yes. Done. I think that's pretty much it. That's the stuff that we use on pretty much a daily basis, definitely on a weekly basis. The only thing I forgot is my Tesla. That's the only other piece of technology that I use every single day. I recommend it. But remember, if you're not going into Black Friday with a need, like I need this lens or I need this light, if you end up buying something, you've probably been scammed. You've been conned into buying something that you most likely aren't gonna use very much, because that's what happens. If you don't really need it, you also don't really use it. And so this stuff that I talked about is stuff that we actually use every single day, the stuff that has stuck with us. Don't waste your money this Black Friday. Save, invest, think about long term. If you find yourself just having this pressure of like, I should be buying something so I can save money, you're not saving money, you're just wasting it. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys have a great day. Hope you guys have a good Black Friday, Cyber Monday. If you have any good deals that you guys find of things that are useful to you, please share with us and we would appreciate that. All right. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Depo, what's your biggest regret purchase?
GoPro.
Ouch! Until more recently, I would probably agree with that. GoPros end up being one of those cameras tools that I feel like I need, but I never end up using, except now I do FPV and I use it quite a bit, so. Oh, also just wanted to say this Tamron seems like a great lens. If you don't want to spend $3,000 or whatever craziness it is on a 16 to 35, this seems like a really great option. Even the focus distance is nice and close. Great job, Tamron.